Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to episode number 3 of Rock and Roll Denim's Talkin Chute podcast. Today, we've got a great show for you featuring the one and only Dale Brisby, only the greatest bull rider of all time, as well as top 3 ranked barrel racer in the world, Shelley Morgan. Shelley has been on fire this year, and we had such a great conversation. I really enjoyed today's show. Today's show is brought to you by our Vintage 46 collection. It's our modern take on that classic cowboy look. Keep you stylish from the ranch to the rodeo, whichever you prefer. Our show today is also brought to you by Hooey by Rock and Roll Denim. That's right, 2 of the best brands in the Western industry have come together, collaborated, if you will, to bring you a product like no other. We had some of our athletes out at the Hooey headquarters. They tried them out, and they really liked them. Just ask our guy Shad Mayfield. We also wanted to mention that streaming now on Netflix is Dale Brisby's How to Be a Cowboy series. Dale takes you with the whole gang out to the Radiator Ranch to buck some bulls and just give you a little bit of taste of that cowboy life. We even got a little bit of shine in episode 3. It was a lot of fun, so check that out. So without any further ado, this is Talkin Chute. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me for the 3rd episode of the Talkin Chute podcast from Rock and Roll Denim. Dale, once again, thanks for joining us today. You know, we had the greatest bull rider of the history of bulls and or rodeo to join us for the second one. So,
I mean, I'm not surprised that you guys got me here, but it's always fun to stop in at the Rock and Roll Denim warehouse. I mean, it's grab a new pair of pants, you know? It's always good to be here.
We definitely got plenty of pants for you.
Lots of pants.
Yes, sir. It's a Six Flags of pants.
An amusement park for pants, if you will.
I love that. And also, you know, we really wanted to start off these first few episodes with a bang. So for me personally, and for a lot of people that worked here, I really wanted to have Shelley on for our 3rd episode. And mainly because you've been leading the world for this entire year. You're number 1 in barrel racing this entire year. And when we first signed you, which I think you're the 2nd latest signing that we had, I think maybe a couple months before NFR, before Texas last year.
Yes.
Is that about right?
That's about right. Yep.
Man, I just, looking back on those days and the story that came along with how we signed you was so fascinating to me. I was like, that's definitely a story for the podcast. So we had to bring you on for that.
Well, I appreciate that. I've had a really exceptional year this year, and I've had lots of fun. Well, I'm hoping that only the best is yet to come, though.
I think we totally agree with that. So when we first got started with you, I think the funny story of how it all began is our owner was having a system installed at his house. And I think he had a brief conversation with your husband who was working on that system. And he was like, you know, my wife's a barrel racer. If you have this Western company that endorses athletes, maybe we should have a conversation. Tell me a little bit about what you remember from that.
I do remember that. He had talked to Jameson. It had probably been a couple of years ago at least. And like you said, he said, hey, my wife's a barrel racer. And I don't know if, like, Jameson's like, oh, okay. You know, like, he probably just thought I'd just, you know, local barrel races around, which I may have been doing that at that time. And then I made it to the NFR, so he must have gone over there for a service call or something. He goes, hey, you know, my wife has made it to the NFR now. And then I think that's how the rock and roll thing had come about. You may know more about the story between him and Tracy and, you know, what y'all know. So
It's funny because you run into somebody at the airport, or like being a cowboy, and even more specifically a rodeo cowboy. And it's not that you just don't expect out in the world, you know, if you're the only cowboy hat in the area, to just run into someone that's that legitimate, you know, like I could just see Jameson like being a nice guy,
Right.
to this technician working on his alarm
Right.
in the city. You know, it's just like, oh, she runs barrels. Oh, that's cool. You know, like I could just see the wheels turning. Like, I wonder if he means, you know, 2 or 3 jackpots a year.
exactly.
And then the next visit, like, yeah, she made the NFR. Excuse me, what? Excuse me, what was that? You know, like, it's like you don't run into people like that. Like, you know, like I was in the airport recently, and you know, you bump into somebody, and it's like they got on a horse 33 years ago with their friend's uncle. You know, that's the kind of people you run into out in the wild.
Right.
But that's hilarious.
That's how it came about.
That's funny.
Just a chance meeting.
Yeah.
I know.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful when serendipitous things can kind of come together like that.
Right.
But I mean, ever since then, I mean, we signed you right before the NFR last year.
Exactly.
And then we had that in Globe Life, which was a different experience, and we'll get to that later for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think the last time you were at Thomas and Mack was 2009, right?
I was.
2009.
Right.
And then back to NFR in Texas for 2020.
Exactly. It's
So,
a long time, huh?
It's a long time. It's a little bit.
It's okay.
It's a little bit. You've been working on your craft.
It's all right. It took me a while.
But you've had a lot of things kind of happen in between back then and now.
Oh, yeah.
And, I really, really want to kind of dive into what your story was. So I talked to Tracy, and Tracy is a barrel racing historian. Tracy is our endorsing manager. She kind of keeps all of us connected, which is beautiful, and we're very lucky to have her.
Right.
But she was telling me about the first horse you had back in 2008, 2009, Short Go.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I wanted to hear a little bit about that horse.
I love to talk about Short Go.
Good. Let's go.
So I've rodeoed my whole entire life, and I met my husband when I was in high school, and we got married, and I still rodeoed, but when you're going to college and all, it's not quite or maybe I just didn't have the horse that I needed to have to be able to be as competitive as I needed to be. So I did do more of that little jackpot thing that we were talking about.
Sure.
Nothing wrong with it either.
And then I came across Short Go. My dad actually found him, and I trained him. And my husband and I, at that point, meaning we had gotten married, after college, and we did the UPRA rodeo, which is semi-pro. And in 2008, we kind of went out and got our feet wet in WPRA Pro Rodeo, and learned a lot, learned a ton, because that was my first year to join the WPRA. It was 2008, and 2009 we're like, let's do it. Let's go for the NFR. And so he's the one that encouraged me to go for the NFR. And I'm going to tell you, it took me from the beginning to the end to fight for that 14th and 15th spot. And I went into the NFR in 2009 on Short Go in number 14 spot. And he was just like, he probably wasn't the fastest cookie in the jar, but he was all heart. He was kind of cowbred. He had a little bit of run in him, but he was more cowbred, and same run every time. Love the crowds. The more people that yelled for him, the faster he would run.
Dang, that's cool.
Oh, man, like the Thomas and Mack was like his setup. So
yeah,
we had a blast.
So he's more of a small arena horse, like that little short
Probably,
area.
unless you put him like on like the hard ground at Greeley, and that's not. That was a good thing for him. He liked hard ground, where he could stay up on top of the ground and run. Then he could really, because he won Greeley,
right?
So he could run on the hard ground. But you put him like in the deeper ground, like San Antonio, which is a small pen, and he would not clock as good. And then we started up 2010 on him. He was doing phenomenal. He'd already won so much money just in February. We were at Tucson, which is in February, and he was doing amazing. And he was in a freak accident, and I lost him.
Dang.
God, that's tough.
Dang.
Yeah.
It's always the good ones.
It always is. I had my backup horse with me, and they were side by side where the incident happened. And not that I wanted anything to happen to my backup horse, but not a scratch on him.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. It's so much of timed event. It's obvious, but timed event is like you just got to be mounted.
It's our horse.
You got to be mounted.
It is definitely our horse.
It's neat when you hear an underdog story. I want to jump into like one of my questions. I know.
No, please go ahead.
You've got a few more, JD, but like, I think it's neat to hear an underdog story of somebody that takes a horse from nothing, some like a reject. You hear them every now and then, like killer trailer kind of horse that all of a sudden is, winning you money, whether they go to the NFL or not, just being successful. That's neat to hear. But a lot of times, like most of the time, people are mounted on really nice horses that they paid a lot of money for.
Right.
So, being on social media, one of my things is I get messages from people every day. And the messages to me are, how do I get started riding bulls, or how do I get started ranching? I don't get a lot of people asking me how to run barrels, but I imagine if I had a little of that content, they would. So young girls listening to this, or, maybe not so young, but whatever age young lady, how do I get started running barrels with that in mind, the horse thing in mind? Like, what are your thoughts to tell somebody?
I don't know if this is proper to say, on a podcast that everybody listens to or not, but I think sometimes the worst thing that can happen to these young girls trying to get in is like get them that all-powerful horse that already is like, and then they don't have a clue what they're doing.
Yep.
We were made growing up to train our horses,
right,
and learn the fundamentals and how the barrel racing works, and put the work in. Put the work in, because that way when you do get competitive, you know how to handle the situations and keep your horse working and all that, instead of just getting thrown on the most high power horse. And I mean, I know it works for a lot of people, but I'm not going to tell
You can't have a $35,000 horse teach you how to run barrels.
Exactly. And
Right.
be very successful on
Right.
it. I mean, you need to start. I mean, if you have that $35,000 horse, then get you something else and learn while you're riding the $35,000 horse. But yeah, I mean, in my opinion, to be successful in rodeo, barrel racing, whatever, I mean, you got to learn to put the work in.
Yep.
You can't just be the one that walks out of the house, gets on the $35,000 horse, and expects to go to the NFR. That's my opinion.
So I think, and I think you and I are on the same page. A lot of people, when they want to learn how to train a horse, they don't know a lot about it, and for some reason on paper they might think, well, I'm gonna get a colt and I'm gonna learn with them, and so I think that's the other end of the spectrum. You don't want to learn with your horse. I think you would need a horse if you don't know anything. Mm-hmm. Like you would almost need a horse like what I have in Boone. He's like our older ranch horse.
Yep.
Can't run out of sight in a day.
Right.
But he's gentle as a church mouse. Like he's just not gonna, buck anybody off. I think a person, a young lady, whoever, learn how to ride a horse on something like that.
I agree.
And then, so I think what you're saying, a high-powered horse would be like the 35. You wouldn't say go get a colt and y'all learn together.
Not from a beginner. No.
You're saying learn how to ride
on something you have, like you said.
Yeah. And then go to but I guess, growing up on a horse, that's easy to take it for granted that someone asking that question may not know
You're right. You're
anything
right.
about leads.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, before you ever barrel race, please learn how to make a horse take a lead.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go from the basics, and I'm not going to broadcast how old I am, but I'm plenty old enough, and I am still learning so much. Like, don't ever think you know everything.
Yeah.
Because you will never. But yeah, definitely for your horse and your career's sake, learn how to ride your horse first.
Right.
And then get help. Get help from somebody that knows. I mean, there's people that are willing to help you.
You bet.
I mean, so if you really want it bad enough, then put the work in to find out how to do it.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great start. First off, I mean, you got to know how to sit on a horse.
Exactly.
You got to know how to ride a horse, because once you get to that high-powered horse, there's not very many of them out there that are push button.
No.
They're still going to need a good pilot.
I agree.
And no matter what event you're doing, whether it's team roping, calf roping, or barrel racing, I don't know, steer wrestling might need. You can get them over there and then jump off like that.
Are those horses broke?
Yeah.
No,
I asked Tough Cooper. He was on last week, and I asked him. I was like, "How many times, in a career of a professional tie-down roper, how many times would you find that horse that everything just clicks 1 through 10? How often is that happening?" He was like, "Depends on how long you do this, but realistically, maybe once."
Well, just for you to say, I went to the NFR in 2009, and that horse I had, Short Go, he was easy. Everything just clicked. And now here it is, 2020. And mind you, now I've had horses in between, but it took me 11 years to find another one that clicked really good.
Dang.
I did have one. We missed the NFR by $1,000. I think it was in 2012. But really, technically, me and that horse never clicked. I mean,
right.
We could get it done because he was that athletic, but it was a struggle.
Well, tell me this now. You say that connection exists, and you know it. I mean, you know it because you've been doing this for forever. But are there strong differences between Short Go and the horses that you have now, or the horse that you're riding now primarily?
So Short Go, like I said, he was kind of like a Cowboy gelding, so he was more the laid back kind and loved the crowds and all, and just real quiet. I mean, easy to handle, just whatever. I mean, he was very easy.
He had everything.
He did. He really did. He really did. I mean, I still love him and miss him every day. But Kiss, 2 weeks after I got on, well, first of all, the first time I stepped on her, I was at the guy's house. I was going to ride her for it. And he goes, you just step on her, make sure you want to take her. And I stepped on her, and I literally thought I was going to get bucked off, like, in a bad way. She was shaking that head, and I didn't know her. She was tall and lanky, and I'm like, okay, well, I tell you what, I'll just take her home, and I'll put her in the round pen first and get her back down here where she needs to be. Because he had me in this big, huge, wide open area, and I'm like, this is not good. And so I got off of her and took her home. It probably wasn't 2 weeks that I was on that horse, and I told my husband, now this is spring of her 3-year-old year, so she really shouldn't even, but I told my husband, I'm like, this is her. This is the one most like short go. But when I say that, so this is the one most like short go that I've ridden in a really long time, meaning she trained herself. I didn't.
And what
train
year
her.
was this that she was 3 and you started?
So she's 7 this year. So
okay, so 4 years ago.
Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't train her. She trained herself. I can't take any credit for training.
That's awesome.
Did you have like a defining moment where you're like, oh, this is close? Just
feeling her go around the barrels. I told my husband, I said, this is the horse. I'm getting chills telling you about this. I said, and I see the hair.
I love it.
I said, this is the horse that's felt the most like short go in however many years that's been. I mean, I've trained, because I was training the whole time trying to get me a rodeo horse back going the whole time.
Did she have like really good genetics? Or do you think it was like just a personality disposition
it was a feeling of her going around the barrels.
But as far as like her training herself, like do you feel like she just had a really good pedigree, or like just it happened to come together for that horse?
I just think it happened to come together that horse, because I mean, she has some names in her pedigree, but she's not like an own daughter of Dash to Fame.
You bet.
I mean, no, neither was Short Go.
I grew up with all kinds of random horses that come to find out were plugs.
Right.
Like just like, no papers, nothing.
Right.
And I was kind of like aspiring horse trainer. I wanted to train horse. I spent a couple summers with Craig Cameron, who's an endorsee, and as a kid, and I've known Craig for a long time. Anyway, so the first half a dozen horses that I was really spent a large amount of time on, I just had trouble with, and I didn't really enjoy it. And I forced myself to keep learning and going through it. And then all of a sudden, my sister got this really, really nice filly. And it'd be a more fun story if I knew her papers. But anyhow, like day 2 of halter breaking this filly, she's just dog gentle and like doing all the things, responding and, real flexible and just really responding to me. And I was like, oh, this is what it's like. This is why you pay more than $275 for a colt.
Right.
And it changed, just overall my view of horses. And from that point forward, like I really it made me just appreciate a horse so much more. But anyway, I was just curious, like with your experience with that, if it was like, but
well, not to say like she has a good pedigree. Like her mom was in the making of making a good barrel horse until she got injured. And so who knows, she might have been a phenom too. But I guess just saying she's not by maybe the ones that you hear of now. Right. But I mean, it was just easy for her, just the way she moved.
Mm-hmm.
And, but then you asked, was she like, she's like night and day. Like when we're in, say, the Thomas and Mack, like Short goes like coming down the alleyway, I got this, and Kiss is like bouncing off the walls. Oh my gosh, I don't even know if I can go in that arena. This is so scary. I mean, night and day difference as far as personality in a rodeo atmosphere. She's like a dragon, and he was like the quiet puppy dog. I mean, so that's how they're different, but they're the same in that I think they love barrel racing and just enjoy doing it. And, and it was natural and easy for them.
And you took Kiss with you, I think it was, to the NFR in Texas, right?
I did.
Right. So NFR in Texas Globe Life was a gigantic stadium.
Yes.
Now, going back to Thomas and Mack this year, do you expect anything different as far as how you're going to train, how you're going to prepare, anything like that?
Well, yeah, I would do a lot of things different. I would even go back, if I could go back to last year's NFR and do some things different. I was kind of excited that it was going to be in a big atmosphere like that. She doesn't always like release herself and run when you close her up with a bunch of people in there with her. She is getting better as we're seasoning, so I'm hoping that, like I said, that this year's NFR at Vegas is like our what is it? Well, I don't know, where we come out of our shell and we're like, okay, we got the small indoors now with lots of people inside. But I was excited that it was in a big open. I think what kind of like bothered Kiss a little bit is like in Arlington, the warm-up pen, everything was just in all the noise and all. It was in all the chaos. And her, if I had had short go, that would have been awesome because it would have got him wound up and ready to go. Her, you want to keep her quiet and all, and I couldn't. And so I think that affected her a little last year. So I would have done some things different as far as practice and all. So this year in Vegas, if I will do some things different as far as getting her in the pen in practice time, just being quiet. And I expect her to do. I have high hopes for her to do really good, really, really good.
Yeah, I'm just excited for you to get that, the grand entrance at the Thomas and Mack again, because it's been 12 years now since.
It has.
Yeah.
It's a long time, huh?
Yeah. I'm
Grand
excited
entry.
for that.
Yeah.
I'm excited for
And
that.
that horse that I told you that I struggled with, that we almost made the NFR by $1,000, and then we had some physical issues with him, and so I never got him to the NFR. But he got to be my grand entry horse last year, and so he'll get to go this year and be my grand entry horse. So that's exciting for
That's
me
amazing.
That's neat.
Yeah.
That's neat. Where do barrel racers stay? Where do they put y'all up?
Well, they give us stalls there on site, but we don't stay there. I stayed at a girl's house.
Don't you get a room?
We do. Mm-hmm.
Where?
I don't remember where ours was.
You said,
Excalibur, maybe?
okay, cool.
I don't know where it's going to be this year, but the first year I went, obviously that was my first year to go to the NFR, so I stayed in my horse trailer
You bet.
where my horse was, and then you get all these things as a contestant. You get all these gifts and
Right.
all, and I'll never forget we lined our bed of our horse trailer because it was like a 10-foot short wall at that point, a small one. And all the bags and gifts and stuff had to line around our bed, and we had to sleep in the middle of them because we didn't know where to put them.
Dang.
Well, we've learned a lot. We're going to use the hotel room this year.
Nice.
Right. Yeah. No, I know they give when you make the NFR, they give you all kinds of things,
Yes,
but they
they
give
do.
you they give you a place to stay, and each event stays at a different casino. So,
Right.
know that.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Over the years, I'd stayed with different bareback riders. I don't know where they are now. They used to be at the Monte Carlo, and I can't remember. Is it bull riders that are at the MGM? Anyway, there's just bronc riders are at Harrah's, and
Yeah, that's
steer
true.
wrestlers are at the Mirage because Casey Jones is there.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm staying. Plug.
I remember
But,
I saw Sellers at MGM, so I think you're right. I think it was bull riders at the MGM.
And rock and roll normally makes you guys are staying at rock and roll staying
We're doing Virgin this year.
Virgin. That's right.
That's right.
Virgin. Yes.
Yeah, we're doing Virgin this year. They just switched over from the Hard Rock, and now it's the Virgin Hotel.
Virgin. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've never stayed there.
It's gorgeous. We've had a couple of our marketing people go up to look at it. We always do a party up there, just like
You didn't
every
get
other
in on
brand.
that trip.
I was.
Hey, guys,
I was
let me-
invited.
You were invited.
I
You
was
didn't
invited.
go.
I had a bull riding I had to go to. Bull riding comes first.
Dang,
I know.
committed to the game.
Hey, I'm trying to practice, man. Like I've said it 1,000 different times, and I put it all in our rock and roll captions. Like the sport of rodeo, in that 8 seconds where it exists, it's poetry in motion. So anytime I can go just practice on that 8 seconds that I can have one person in the center of my frame, I'm going to take advantage of it. And that means, like I told Tuff this last week, if there's a rodeo going down at Cowtown, I'm going to drive up there just to practice.
No,
Right.
you should have gone to Vegas. Just come to one of our practice sessions. I'd have helped you make up for it.
I'll head up to Winnebago and you can.
You should do that anyway.
Would you let me?
What are you talking about? Would I let you? We work together every day,
That's
like
true.
all the time. Not every day, but all the time. Yes, I would
true.
let you.
I'd love
I've been on a rock and roll team for like 6 years.
Yeah, I act like this is
Yes,
brand new. but
you
really
can
it's-
come to my house where we buck bulls, so you can work on. Yeah, you can come.
Thanks,
So
Dale.
I didn't think I had to say that, but yeah,
Formal invitation.
yeah, you too.
Yeah.
You're
Will you teach me how to ride a bull?
Well, we were talking about that before the podcast started, and I will go to different endorsees' houses. I went to Cody Oles, had a little roping
yeah.
lesson. Went to Tough Cooper's, had a little calf tying lesson. So I need a barrel racing lesson.
Okay, I'll let you ride Kiss.
I don't know.
That means you have to ride.
Let me ride your.
Oh wait, I'll let you ride Phoebe. That'll be even better. You'll really.
Is
like
that your grand entry horse?
Nope, that's my other barrel horse.
Yeah, I don't want to ride one that you make your living on. Give me something that's like.
So Phoebe, whenever you're just warming her up, her body can go 12 different directions, and you just got to figure out which section to ride on.
Okay.
Will that
sounds
work?
fun.
Yeah. Sounds like some bucking horses I've been on. Yeah.
But I want to ride a bull though in return. You got any mini bulls?
I do have one bull that is.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm scared.
Well, we got him. Oh, here's another plug. We've got a Netflix show coming out September 1. I don't know when this airs, but and we got this bull during that. We got him at the sale barn. His name's Frostbite, and there's a girl bull rider who came and stayed, and she's been here for about a year. She was in the Netflix show. Her name's Jordan Halverson, and we got Frostbite for her to practice on. And so that's normally the bull we put people on for their first ride. So
When I fall off, is he going to try to get me?
no, no,
All right, so the day that you decide to go,
Yeah.
I'm going.
There
to.
you go.
I
There
don't
you
want to
go.
be on Frostbite.
yeah, no.
Are you
We've
going to video me?
I'm going to video you if you'll
Okay.
video me.
Okay. Okay.
The main time you don't bring your bull rope. If you're scared of a bull hooking you, then don't get on one if JB is there with his trailer backed up to my pins.
Deal. That's fair.
That's when. Matter of fact, go ahead and get out of the arena.
Just leave.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to leave. It'll be entertaining. Turn the camera on. Just be outside the arena. JB likes to wreck out our interns, and he is chomping at the bit because I got these two new ones that last year about this time it was Donnie and Wes, and JB would bring bulls, or he came from South Texas. He went to the sale barn and he was like, he called me. He was like, I got a trailer full of bulls for these guys. These bulls were just off of some pasture, never seen a human. And they dehorned them for him at the sale barn. He puts them in this white trailer, blood everywhere. It looks like a massacre. And he called me. He's like, yeah, I'm going to bring them tomorrow. 20 minutes later, he called me. He was like, I don't know if they'll get back in the trailer, so I'm coming right now. I'm going to be there in 6 hours.
Oh
He
my
pulled up
goodness.
to the house and unloaded these South Texas wild, never seen a human bulls with blood everywhere. These guys' eyes were wide
The
open.
intimidation.
Oh my gosh. But needless to say, they rode them. They
Yeah.
did a great job. So it was good. But so I got these new interns, Willie and Kevin, and JB is chomping at the bit. He wants to wreck them out so bad. I hope they don't listen to this podcast, but that's JB's goal.
JB's sitting there just licking his chops, waiting.
Yeah.
Just wait.
Fresh meat.
He called me the other day and he was like, he kind of sounded like he wanted to ask me something. And so we were just pleasantries. And then he was like, so this intern Willie. And I was like, oh, that's exactly. I knew that's what he was calling for. He's like,
Waiting for it to get there.
when are you going to let me bring, I was like, bring him whenever you want. But anyway,
Oh, that's funny.
so I'll let you get on Frostbite. So
Okay, I'll let you get on Phoebe.
Phoebe, that's what we can do. That'll be a good rock and roll video.
That's content all day long,
Yeah.
for sure.
Where do you live?
And I live in Canton. Well, I
Okay.
have a Eustis address, a Martinsville phone number, and I live right in between Canton and Athens. How is that?
A lot of
Information right there.
cowboys over there, cowgirls, a lot of cows, a lot of saddle makers right there.
Oh, yeah.
Good
a lot.
heavens.
Yeah.
Isn't
That
that-
like the most saddles in the world probably come out of that area, like a 50-mile
Exactly.
radius of Canton.
Yeah.
Just smells like leather and Canton all the
Kaufman,
time.
Wills Point, Terrell.
So the thing about, I asked Tracy earlier, I was like, so she's from the Eustis, Canton, Wills Point area.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard Canton and Wills Point. So the whole thing that comes back to me is they have a couple high schools in Canton and Wills Point that have some of the best marching bands in the world.
Oh, yes.
They win state, I think, every single year at Wills Point or
Toops,
Canton.
Troops.
Yeah, that's right. But on top of that, she told me that I can't remember one of the high schools, if it was Eustis or Wills Point, but you also coached basketball.
I did.
At a
It
certain
was
point?
actually Grant Saline and then Canton. I coached in Grant Saline first and then Canton. Yep.
How was that?
It was fun. I enjoyed it. A lot. I don't want to go back. I mean, I want to do what I'm doing now. My horses don't talk back near as much. So,
As high school girls, basketball.
but I had good girls. I enjoyed it. I really did. I enjoyed it. I taught basketball and I taught volleyball at Grand Saline and had never, ever done volleyball. So that was, oh well.
Did you ever coach barrels at all? Never did any
No.
coaching there.
No.
Would it translate the same way if you decided you wanted to coach barrels eventually?
I probably know a whole lot more about barrels than I did volleyball.
I think good teachers are good teachers once they have the information. It's all about being a good communicator.
Yeah, exactly. I
Agreed.
agree with
Yep.
that.
I
I
bet
really
you
do.
could. I bet you could teach somebody how to do the deal.
Well,
The thing about anything rodeo related is just the amount of time it takes. Like, I can't really even think of something to compare it to, but just the amount of time it takes to learn how to sit on a horse.
I would say, I mean,
No.
like teaching them how to do maths
Right.
or basketball. Yeah, it's totally different. I mean, yeah,
There's just certain things you could pick up on that you're going to learn it pretty quick, but like
there's something different every day.
when you involve like
horses.
being on a horse, that is,
An everyday learning.
yes. I think personally the easiest event to learn in rodeo is bull riding. Like as far as learning one, or bareback riding. Bareback's probably the easiest because it gives you so many second and third. Now getting good at it, I'm not saying it's easy to get good.
Sure.
It's just easy to get to a point where you might think you could do it and maybe be competitive. But like you run your hand in that rigging, if you got enough fight in your blood, then it'll give you second, third, fourth chances because you're in there so much. But then bull riding, the reason why I think that's easy to learn is because you can tone down the bulls so much. Like you can find a frostbite,
Right.
and it's hard to find that version of a horse, And then as far as rough stock, bronc riding is by far the hardest thing to learn. But, and then bullfighting is just, that's in a world of its own.
I can't even wrap my head around that.
But like even bronc riding, like just learn, because you've got to be in rhythm with that horse,
Right.
But just feeling that takes so long.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted
I
to
agree.
team rope, probably the thing that is the most sought after event, because it's the least dangerous. If you're a young man wanting to rodeo, like if you had to pick something that would be the most simple to learn in terms of staying healthy, it'd be team roping. But that means there's a lot of people really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's probably the hardest thing to be competitive at. But
I team rope one time.
yeah,
Yeah, and so if I'm going to get the rope on the horse's steers, I'm going to dally on something.
uh-huh.
It'd be my arm, my finger, my saddle, my leg, whatever. I'm not letting go.
Right.
So it can be pretty dangerous.
Oh yeah, it can definitely be dangerous. No,
I had to quit.
it's if you are learning it from scratch, it is absolutely dangerous, And I would just say like the odds of something happening once you know what you're doing are
Right.
probably lesser. But like learning how to, because you got to have your horse in the right lead there too.
Right.
And you can't stop riding your horse to rope the steer. So you got to be able to ride your horse without thinking about it.
Right.
And man,
A lot to teach. And when you said when you said the feel, like I've thought that before, like when you're teaching somebody to barrel race and you're trying to explain something like them picking their rib cage up or whatever. I mean, you got to learn to feel that.
mm-hmm.
I mean, that's something you can't teach.
Which I don't think I would have enough finesse to do well.
Oh,
I
do.
feel like it would, I'm just more like blunt, like if I'm in the gate cutting calves on the ranch, I'm more rough, like get over there. I'm gonna use my whole, like just the finesse of like picking like those little things. I feel like that's a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
But and it might be one of those things where some people have it, some people don't.
And it's hard, until you feel it, it's hard to teach it. You got to feel it. Does that make sense? I mean, you got to ride. You got to ride, and you got to learn what that is. I can't, necessarily tell you what it is. You got to learn what it is. So.
Right.
I know enough about it to know that you ladies are on a whole nother level. That's what I know
doubt
enough.
that.
It's like
just so much in your mind and your mental all the time and what's going on, and not just for you but for your horse too.
Yeah.
Right. Like I had a really good friend growing up in high school named Brittany, and she was a barrel racer I think through 5th or 6th grade, and Tracy was her coach.
Oh, really?
Crazily enough, I grew up in the same town. Brittany grew up in the same town. Tracy grew up 10 minutes up the road, taught her barrels for 10 years of her life. Never knew of Tracy until I started working for Panhandle and Rock and Roll.
How cool is that?
That's wild.
Crazy story. I was really lucky. I actually got to take her to one of the rounds at NFR last year.
Oh, yeah?
It's always been her dream to go to a Las Vegas NFR, and just happenstances in Arlington. So I was like, let's go see what this barrel racing is about.
Yeah,
So,
it looks easy, doesn't it?
but what she would tell me is I remember she sat down in that specific instance. She sat down in the booth like, all right, time to get serious. I got to see everything. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, I got to see the horse. I got to see the rider. I see how the horse is reacting to the rider. I see how the horse is reacting to the barrel, to the ground, to everything. I'm like, there's just so much nuance that she would tell me about that. That's not just the fundamentals of what you would learn about a specific sport, but nuance that you get from doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the things that people underestimate whenever they do ask the question of like, how do I get, it's one of those, it looks so simple,
Right.
but it is simple. It looks, sometimes some of you ladies make it look easy,
Right.
Turn this horse around this barrel, turn him around this other barrel. And it's like, oh, the hardest thing is knowing the pattern, which way, and no, that's not the hardest thing, And so, but the thing that comes along with learning it is it just takes years. And I mean, you even said like, your new horse, what was your new horse's name?
Kiss?
Kiss took, it was 3. She was 3 when you realized she had what it took. And then it was another 3.5 years before you made it to the NFR.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's 3.5 years of work.
Right.
Yeah.
WORK.
Yes, sir.
And like committed to, it's not like you also, it wasn't a hobby
Right.
in those 3 years,
Right.
You committed your life to that craft, and that's what put you in the position to go to the NFR.
Right.
It's a heavy statement. Same thing, like people will ask, like, how do I get started ranching? And it's just like, sometimes jokingly, I'll just say, don't.
Right. Right. Because you got to do the hard stuff first.
Right.
Yeah.
The real hard stuff first.
Yeah.
What was it like for you when how did you deal with added pressure of each round? Like you're at the NFR going down, like did it mess with your head? I know you had been there before a while back. So what was that like going down the alley with Kiss?
Well, kind of going backwards real quick. Well, like on short doe, I mean, I was just ready to get at it every night. Like, just get at it. With Kiss, the first 4 rounds went really good. I think she placed the first 3. I don't remember. Maybe it was the 4th or 5th round. She kind of started falling apart. And so at that point, I'm like, Kiss always is the same run every time. I mean, she's a little, I don't know, like gets herself in a dither real easy. But she started missing the first barrel on me, and she doesn't do that ever.
Yeah.
And then it happens at the NFR. And I mean, like on a normal horse, and this kind of goes back to, because every horse is different, every situation is different. I mean, you're at the NFR, your horse doesn't overrun the first barrel. She never overruns the first barrel. I don't care if you put it out in the middle of a pasture or if you put it in a little bitty pen, she doesn't overrun the first barrel. And so I thought, well, it was just a fluke the first time. And so we just kind of went on, did our thing the second time, and she did it again. So I tried to correct it the third time, or this was like by the 6th or 7th round. And at that point we hit it. And I'm like, okay, I mean, you're in the middle of the NFR, so I guess kind of in the middle of the NFR this year, which I guess kind of makes me sound unprofessional, but it's just what I'm saying. Like, as I go with her, and this being the first time with her at the NFR, it was definitely a learning experience as well that year. I don't know if just mentally she was tired, and just I don't know, or I really don't. I really, to this point, because, right after the NFR, I guess my game plan coming into each round at that point was, I got to figure out how to get that first barrel.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't get the first barrel down, it doesn't matter what the rest of them are. So anyway, let's just say about the 6th run, I still wasn't getting the first barrel down, so I switched horses. And went to Phoebe, which is the one I'm going to let you ride.
Okay.
And oh my gosh, she just exceeded I mean, coming in there, like, okay, Kiss is like, you just send her and you just kind of kick and hang out.
So this is round 7. You're
Yeah.
riding Phoebe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kiss has got your back. She's like, I got this, Mom. You just sit up there. I got this. That's Kiss, normally. And then when we had the first barrel issue at the NFR, and you're playing with your head going. And another thing I did, which I said what I would do different. So we only live an hour and a half from the NFR.
Mm-hmm.
So with Kiss will kind of get off her feet sometimes and get, a little nervous inside. So we took her home every night. We took her home and let her rest in her own bed. And so I didn't go to every single practice. We would have practices about every third day. We would be able to get into the arena and have practices. I went at first because obviously she needed that. And I thought it was better for her to go home and rest than to bring her back and forth twice and just, cause all those nerves to come flaring up again. And I would have gone back and worked her slowly if I had it to do over again and said, it's okay, calm down.
Right.
But Phoebe, I got on Phoebe the 7th round, and I have to ride Phoebe. I have to ride her and stay in the saddle. And she placed the first round. I was almost more ecstatic about that than, I was so proud of her.
That is such it never even crossed my mind because, like, you see guys, like, maybe have trouble, like, in the rough stock. Like, I see guys, like, maybe have trouble, 2, 3, 4 rounds in a row or whatever. Well, they got to fix their mind,
right?
Because it's going to be a different bull. Mm-hmm. You in the rule book, you're not going to draw the same animal twice.
Right.
They have 5 rounds, and then they'll repeat all those animals in the second 5 rounds.
Right.
And you legally can't, draw that same animal the second 5 rounds. So you got to fix your mind. Yeah. But each animal is going to do their own thing each night. But in the timed event, like, for instance, Kiss having a hard time, like, what's going through her mind?
Exactly.
So it's like, and you have to be like, I hope she is on her game tonight because that seems like and then you're having to navigate it within a 15-second time window.
And you're like, is it mental for Kiss? Is she, going crazy inside?
That's where I went.
Yeah.
Meaning like, because she's going down that alley and it opens up and it's the same thing because she probably remembers it.
Yeah. Right.
And so she's like, I don't know. That's what I thought.
And so that's where you say, okay, do I leave her at home and let her rest and get her composure, or do I take her back up there? And if she's on the muscle and that morning, then that's going to stress me. It's going to stress her because I want her to be calm. And it was like more difficult this last year in 2020 at the NFR for me. I don't figure I like I said, the first 3 rounds went great. 4th round's when she kind of missed her first barrel, and then it just kind of started going downhill. I don't feel like I ever nailed down. Is she sore? Is she mentally? What's going on? And I'm not sure I ever nailed it down. And I hate to say that.
Did you finish the last 4 rounds with?
I ran Phoebe 2 rounds, and she placed both rounds. And I decided to come back on Kiss the 9th round and see if maybe that 2-day break was better. And we still flew by the first barrel. And so I came back on Phoebe the 10th round and kind of hit a barrel.
Dang. So do you feel like Kiss would have had a good shot at the Thomas and Mack?
Like I said last year, are you talking about in 2020? Had it been at the Thomas and Mack, or this year?
This year.
I do think she has a good chance. I'll do things differently. I will go. I would do things differently last year. I would kind of, instead of taking her home every night, would stay in the stalls one night when the practice was the next morning, because they do provide us stalls, and take her back in there and, get her to calm down. Just get her to calm down.
Yep.
Make her calm down. But I think in the Thomas and Mack, I'm going to be very focused on what Kiss needs and showing her that the arena is okay for her, and then at night letting her do her job. So I have high hopes for her at the NFR.
Cool.
I never even thought about like having to. You talk about team sports and individual sports and rodeo, but the idea that you are a team.
Oh yes, and she's like probably part of the biggest part of my team.
Right, and the fact that you can't speak English to each other to explain what's wrong and what's going on, like.
Is this mental for you? Is something hurting? What? I had her checked, and so.
Man, it's just a whole nother dynamic, just with rough stock, like I said, like there's fundamentals, we've got to execute them. And if we don't, then we did something wrong, and that's the problem. Mm-hmm. And then we try to fix it. Mm-hmm. But when you go to add in, maybe it was the animal. Well, you're probably not going to get on that same animal at the next rodeo.
Right.
It's unlikely, even with the same stock contractor.
Right.
So anyway, I think that's a whole nother element of stuff. And then maybe you have a great day, but then your horse just doesn't.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I guess it is the one thing that would be neat about it is typically, your pattern's the same. You know what you're going to do.
Right.
You can go out there and
Yes.
turn left a couple times and turn right.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's so many aspects. You've got to have the mental game of a winner. You've got to be a horseman.
Right.
And you've got to have a good horse. And then you've got to know how to rodeo.
And you got that horse feeling the best that she can to perform that night.
For 10
Right.
nights.
Yeah.
But then you've got to know how to rodeo to get there.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
going to the right stuff and going to,
Where
when-
she can excel.
right.
Yeah.
Travel and then making it count as far as like money, and then which rodeos are you gonna count? There's so much that goes into it. It's crazy.
And speaking of that too, you've been on fire this year. Have you been planning out like routes that maybe Kiss would specifically do better at this rodeo versus this one? Or
Mid-roll.
go ahead.
I'd like to thank all of you listeners out there for tuning into the podcast. This is Dale Brisby, and I am wearing vintage 46 double barrel reflex. If you're not wearing reflex, you ain't no cowboy. Back to the question.
He's exactly right. No,
Yeah.
that's exactly right.
I totally agree.
rockandrolldenim.com.
Thank you.
Back to you.
So I love that. So with that, you have Kiss now, and you were on fire this year. You were #1 barrel racer in the world for this entire year, I think until like 3 days ago, which we're not going to talk about that. We don't have to worry about
That's
that.
right.
Did you have to, or did you select different rodeos or different events that, Kiss would specifically maybe in your mind work better? Or did we just have a fire year?
So she really likes the summer run, the big outdoor pens and all. That's kind of, like I said, where she excels the most. But I did get to go to the Ram Circuit Finals in Florida this year, and she did really good there. She won that, so that gave me a big, huge kickstart for the year. And so I was able to enter a little different this year. I didn't enter as much. Obviously, my goal with them is to like rodeo on them as many years as I can. So, the fewer runs I can make on them, the longer I can make them last. So I did enter differently. I kind of, this year, whereas sometimes in the years past, I have never had two horses, so I'm learning how to manage them. That's another aspect. Like, I've always just had one horse and you just go with it. But I've had the luxury of having two, so learning how to manage them kind of sounds corny, but I would run them back and forth. Well, this year I ran Kiss more like at the winter rodeos and at the Ram Circuit Finals. I ran Phoebe in the spring and gave Kiss the spring off so I could bring her back in the big summer run. Because the last 2 years as a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old, that's where she's excelled, is in the summer, in the big outdoor pens. Now, we did enter a few different rodeos this summer on the summer run than what we normally do. We normally do the Dakotas, and we stayed more up in Utah and Montana, Wyoming. We're probably going to go back to the Dakotas next year. Wyoming, I don't know how to describe Wyoming. It's great and gravelly.
Understood.
Great and gravelly. And so, I have not had to enter as much because she's done phenomenal. And
That's a good feeling.
oh my God.
Having like,
Do you know that I've never, ever had this easy of a year?
man, like just not being on the bubble.
Yes.
And then, your September, you get to map it out how you want and not how you have to.
Do you know I've brought her home? She's home. We're not going up to the Northwest.
Dang.
That's got to be a
cool.
breath of
That's
fresh air.
nice.
Yeah, Tough was in here last week, and he was telling me like one of the biggest things that has translated from his last few years of rodeo to this year was that he really took like an account of what he needs to do personally and what his horses need to do
Exactly.
to be on top. And he said, for me, honestly, sometimes I just need to chill. Sometimes I just need a weekend. I need to let my horse be in its pen at home.
Exactly.
I need to be in my own bed at home, and then I can go back and be 100%.
I have to say, even if you just came home from a week or two and then went back out,
Mm-hmm.
they need that. Barrel racing. Our sport, in my opinion, depends so much on the horse. No horse. I can't go run it in 16, 17 seconds. You know what I mean? It depends so much on the horse. So if your horse is not happy, I had a very smart barrel racer tell me many, many years ago when I was battling with one of my horses. She said, if your horse isn't 100%, I guarantee you there will be 10 or 12 out there that is, meaning you might as well go home, get your horse 100% and come back out here, because you trying to do it at 80% ain't going to work, because there's too many horses out here that are 100% is going to beat you. So I strongly believe in taking care of what your horse needs. Kiss needs some home time. Short Go, he could probably just live on the road all his life. Kiss needs her bed.
Short Go was a rock star.
Oh my gosh, it's like you said, he was just everything in one package. He wasn't the fastest one in the world, but he was that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get many horses like that in a
you
lifetime.
No, you don't.
That's neat. And then it's tough. Like I've heard of people having different horses and you get an offer for them. You know, people are always trying to buy it. I can't imagine navigating that. I have with Boone a little bit, just because, you know, people want that kind of horse, but him having been raised up in our family, and, you know, it's easy for me to say no, but I can't imagine just having a good horse like that and then like getting offered crazy money.
I've been offered, you know, well, Short Go, like you said earlier, my dad was, he bought and sold horses for a living. He owned a sale barn. So one of his, I don't know, I guess you call him a horse trader, is actually where he got Short Go from. That's how I started Short Go. But I have been offered money on Kiss. I mean, even like from the Brazil end of things. And I mean, I had a guy just this summer argue with me. Well, I'm embarrassed to say this because y'all think I'm like totally like have lost my mind, because I know. But like, so nobody's ever offered me this amount of money, but he's going to say, if somebody offered you $1 million for Kiss, you wouldn't sell her. I'm like, no.
That makes sense to me. It makes sense. Like
I thought you were fixing to get me.
No way.
Because like, now I'm not saying I would turn it down. I mean, I might take it, but that makes sense. It's like, because it's great. You want to rodeo to the fullest and be the most efficient to win the most money, but mainly because that's how they keep score.
Right.
You know, like if I know a lot of guys that they wouldn't care about money if the dollar wasn't what affected your standings.
Right.
You know, like, because we're not rodeoing for money.
Right.
At the end of the day, especially
We're
once you've
broke
done
if
it,
we are.
like you can do a lot other things in life about half the effort and make 10 times the money.
Oh, yes.
Like there's a lot of more lucrative careers in rodeo. I mean, more than rodeo.
Correct.
And so that makes sense. Now, I don't know, millions of
$1 million,
but
money.
but I completely respect someone turning it down.
Can you buy though? I mean, can you buy your dream? Is your dream
Exactly.
Where's
exactly.
your $1 million going to go in 10 years? Are you still going to have it?
Exactly.
And
No,
I told both of my
that.
boys, I said, if I die, something happens to me and I die, please don't sell Kiss and Phoebe. Whatever you do, I'm like, just find somebody to manage and breed them and raise babies and you make money on them, but just don't let anybody else run them.
Yeah.
Because they won't treat them like I treat them.
Oh.
Yeah.
And just don't sell them. Just whatever you do, just please don't sell them.
I can speak to that passion more than I can like anything. I'm not a rodeo person. I love the sport of rodeo. I haven't competed in rodeo, so that form of like falling in love with your people and your horses and your team and all that, like I got this guitar when I was 18, and that's my background. It's music,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and it's just a Les Paul, just a Gibson Les Paul studio, nothing crazy, not a custom, nothing like that.
Right.
But I learned to play on that. I started my first band with that. We got pretty notorious from that, and you know,
It's
people
not for sale.
people want that guitar because in 2008 they carved some stuff inside. This is so technical and lame, but they carved
it's not.
pockets inside of this guitar to make it lighter. So it's the lightest Gibson Les Paul that you can wear, and people that play Gibsons know that the Les Pauls is like the heaviest guitar ever.
Right.
It's hard on your neck, hard on your back, whatever.
Right.
This one's just super light. I've had a lot of offers for this because it was the only year that it was ever made.
Right.
But my dad bought me that guitar.
Yeah.
I learned how to play on that guitar.
Right.
Right.
My kids will own that guitar.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing stupid about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like, so my husband will tell you that my horses mean more than him, but they don't.
Right.
And but they're really close behind.
But it's a close second.
Very close.
But, I mean, they definitely don't mean more than my kids either, but they are like my kids. I mean, could you sell your kids?
Yeah. No, I think that I'm right there with you. There's just
all you people out there, there's no amount of money that can buy Kiss and Phoebe.
right. Well, you can't look at success through the lens of money.
Right.
And if you're looking at success through the lens of money, you won't understand why somebody turns down $1 million for a horse.
Right.
100% agree.
But, you know, and again, rodeo cowboys, like, I get why they, and that's why they keep score with money, because it's an exciting number. You know, Sage Kimsey's winning the world with $177,000 right now. And it's like, that's exciting. It's like, oh man, this cowboy can make that much money doing this thing he loves, you know, but he's not, if it were 17,000, he might still be riding bulls, you know?
Right.
So anyway, that's just, I get that. I get that 100%. So, because at the end of at the end of your life, you know, and the main thing is looking back and knowing that, you know, you don't have any regrets.
Exactly.
And if you had sold, you know, Kiss last September and not got to go to the NFR, you know, there's just, I don't know, there's just no telling what your life would look like. But not even, you know, because I was thinking about it in terms of selling a horse, you know, when you think about $1 million, even if it was like 50 or 75,000, it's like, well, no, I'm gonna make, if I go to the NFR and I win this and this, and I'm able to make 140,000 on the year, it's like, yeah, but what's your margin? What'd you have to spend to get that? You could take that 50 or 75,000 and probably be money ahead.
Right.
But
in a year, well, are you gonna know where that 50 or 75,000 went?
Nope. I mean, probably not.
I mean, and this, like, definitely not saying because I have tons of money, because that's not the case. But I mean, money, it doesn't.
I've always subscribed to money comes and goes, and just go do what you love.
It's not going to make or break me.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go live with my mom, need a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and
100%.
still on Kiss.
Money's just it's a big game of Monopoly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a tool. It's all about your mind. And anyway, even people with money, you see them when they'll go bankrupt and lose it, and then like see a millionaire go bankrupt, and then 5 years later they're a millionaire again.
Right.
You know, it wasn't. Anyway,
it's like Louis C.K. I mean, every time that he does a comedy special, he'll bankrupt himself to start the new comedy special because he believes in himself that much.
Yeah.
And
that's what rodeo cowboys do. We just bankrupt ourselves,
Exactly.
chasing our dream.
I've been bankrupt
because
more than
I know
once.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a lot of people. Like, yeah.
Yeah. What's my
no.
account mean this month? I'll be on top.
No rental. I'm gonna buy this van real quick and make it to the rodeo.
That was the Barry's Cherry story, right?
That's it. Exactly. Yeah. You picked up on that. Yeah.
I'm right there with you, Dale Brisby.
Yeah. Anyways, no, that's rodeo. There's not much logic behind it.
No,
you know?
not at all.
Especially if you go to thinking like, add another layer to no logic behind rodeo is like if you go to looking at like rough stock, like bull riders, you know, it's like, do they pay? Well, you got to actually pay them to go to the road. So you pay them to do something this dangerous for entertainment. Yeah, but I might could win that. That's it. You know, it's just like you go to thinking about it from a logical, quote unquote, point of view, and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, and even more so for you, you've got a whole trailer, you've got a rig, you've got 2 horses in the trailer, you've got gas money, you've got feed, you've got medicine, anything that you could need for those horses. And what did Tough Edom say on our first podcast? If you're a bull rider, you've got your rigging bag and your ass, and that's it.
Yeah. We don't, anytime a roughie is around a timey, we try not to complain about travel. That's just a good rule of thumb. Just go ahead and be quiet in that conversation because they got it way bad off.
Not gonna win that.
No, we're not. No.
Oh,
So are you excited about NFR?
I can't wait. I am excited. I get excited just to go run Kiss. I mean, I do. It's not like I don't. It's just fun. It's fun to get in the saddle and know that I'm fixing to get to go run her.
Yeah.
I can't wait till the NFR. I have really high expectations. We're gonna like just jam it up out there.
So one more recap question for me, just maybe 3 or 4 bullet points. Somebody's out there listening, they want to be a barrel racer. What do they need to do?
Well, first of all, get a horse and learn to take care of it, first of all, before you even get on its back. Learn to take care of it. Because even if you do get far into the, rodeo world or a barrel racing or whatever, if you can't take care of your horse, then, don't let somebody take care of it for you. Learn how to put in the work, take care of your horse. Then, like you said, second of all, learn how to ride. I mean, like the basics of riding. Sit in the middle, feel the horse, learn how to feel your horse and feel what he's doing and whatever. and then go get help. You know, you're never, ever going to know everything. So start from the bottom, train your own horse, or at least train a horse, whether it's the one you run or not, just because it teaches you the basics of barrel racing and all, and go from there. But just know that depending on how good you want to be, you have to put work into it. I mean, it ain't just going to come, you know, easy peasy.
I love how you preface that, depending on how good you want to be,
Yeah.
you know, because you reap what you sow.
Exactly.
There's a certain level of work that might get you a few AMI rodeo wins. There's another level of work that'll get you to the AMI finals.
Right.
There's a level of work that you win a few pro rodeos. Then there's your level of work that gets you to the NFR.
Yeah, and you know, if you're not willing to give your horse all you've got and put in the work, I mean, even take care of yourself so that you can be the best athlete possible, then how do you expect your horse to give you what it takes to be the top rodeo athlete? So if you're not willing to put in the work, then just find a different sport.
Yep.
If you're not willing to go outside and sweat,
Yep.
then don't even go to the trouble. Just
Yeah.
don't even say the word barrel racing.
Table tennis.
So we're lucky enough as a company to have a few barrel racers on our endorsee list. And
Right.
when I talk to them, you know, they're all from all different ranges of, I've been barrel racing for 10 years, I've been barrel racing for 20 years. The thing that I kind of find that's like a theme between all of our barrel racers is if you're in the beginning of your career or in the latter years, there's this weird like mutual mentorship program that goes on with barrel racers. It's
Right.
like when I asked Jimmy Smith, I asked her, I was like, so same question Dale would ask to end a podcast. What would you say to a girl that's coming up that really wants to do the sport? Jimmy was like, you got to find somebody that's been here, done that, that
Yeah.
knows how to enter, that knows what rodeos to enter, to know how to keep your horse calm, to keep yourself calm, and to work all of that chemistry into one perfect present and then present that to the world.
Yep.
Do
That's a
you-
good way to put it. Wow. Did she say that? Did she come with that, or did you come up with
She
that?
said that, and I spun it off of what she said, from what I
That's
understood
pretty
from what she said.
good.
Do you find yourself now, because Stevie told me, Stevie Hillman, she's in this place now to where she's just coming into the part to where she's now mentoring girls.
Right.
Like, 16, 17, 14, 15-year-old girls that are coming up in the sport and they want to be just like every single year qualified just like she is.
Right.
Are you on that path now to where you're mentoring other girls, or you're like girls are coming up to you asking you questions about how to make it in your sport and things like that?
Some I do get that some. And I love to help. I don't necessarily like do lessons or anything. Just I don't know. I'm like, well, what am I going to tell them? But like, I mean, as far as like watching and helping them, I don't mind. I mean, I don't mind at all. None of us girls do. I mean, the deal is if you really have the passion and you really want to put forth the work, I don't mind helping you. But, don't come if you're going to say, hey, Mom, saddle my horse.
Yeah.
Or, I just, I don't know. Like I said, I try to be careful what I say. But if you don't care no more than that, then you don't need my help.
Sure.
Not bad to say that.
Well,
not at all.
It's great if you can learn from mistakes.
Sure.
But when you can learn from somebody else's mistakes, that's a fast track.
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
you
I
can
agree.
fast track your point A to point B by learning from mistakes that someone else made, then you can, that's in anything in life, not just rodeo.
That is a good point.
But I see it in rough stock all the time. Like you'll see a young guy who's like starting to get warmed up and jump in with some NFR guys. And it's really easy to jump in with them in the spring. You got to start winning some money if you're going to jump in anywhere from, mid-June to mid-August. But spring and fall, usually them guys, jump in, go with them one or two rodeos, but you just kind of learn the way and the mindset that they have. And it just like, that's why I think you see a 21-year-old, 20-year-old, they can't go to the blackjack table, but they're at the NFR.
Sure.
They learned from somebody. And then the Wright brothers, like,
That's just different.
they go to the NFR if you could get your pro card when you're 15.
Right.
But unfortunately they make you be 18.
Right.
And so most of them don't go till they're 18.
There's just something in the water up them.
But they learned from, the Godfather, Cody Wright, he's, and they learn all that. They get those shortcuts past all these mistakes. But once you, if you come into it thinking you got it figured out on your own, it turns that side of your brain off.
Exactly.
It turns that learning side of your brain off.
Because you will never ever know everything.
Right.
Like, but like you said, and that's the part I don't mind. Like if somebody really has the passion and really wants to come, be good at it, you're right. Even in just doing anything in life, like, somebody that knows how to do it, it's easier to say, hey, will you come help me get started doing this? It's much quicker than me having to read the manual and learn it myself, which is, like you said, the same in barrel racing. We've been out here on the road and we've done it. So to help somebody come in and, learn the do's and don'ts of what I've learned, I probably haven't had that opportunity quite, a whole ton.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think that is definitely
And it's easy for most people in rodeo are relatively, kind-hearted people. But also, you get excited talking about something you're passionate about.
Yes.
You come to me and want me to teach you how to get an Excel sheet going. You're gonna have to pay me to do that. Like either go find somebody else or pay me a bunch of money, and then I'll figure it out and teach you. But if you're talking about rodeo, like we love to talk about rodeo,
Yeah.
so if you, but the more of the basics you learn, you can
yes.
learn the better. That's what I told Willie yesterday. JB was supposed to come yesterday, but he had a load of pipe come in, and I was like, well, it's not gonna hurt. The further you can get down the road before JB gets here, the harder that lesson will hit. So you need to be ready for opportunity when it knocks, I guess, is the lesson there.
Right.
Yeah,
But
totally.
anyway.
Well, thank you guys once again so much for coming and hanging out with me. I know it's middle of Fort Worth, middle of the crazy rodeo season right now. Everything's getting ready to go back to the Thomas and Mack for NFR. Right in the middle of the summer. You got Pendleton, Ellensburg, all these other great rodeos coming up. So thank you so much for taking time out of your precious day to come hang out with us for a little while.
Well, I enjoyed it. I appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, Dale, thanks again for coming and co-hosting with me.
I'm going to let you know when we practice the next. You better bring your camera.
I'm ready. I'll bring my camera and my bull rig. Let's do it.
Frostbite.
It's 2 hours.
From here?
You'll come over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll leave here at 6 o'clock. I'll be there by 8 a.m.
I come here like 2 or 3 times a month, so I'm not going to feel bad if you drive over there. I'm just telling you. I think you come over there, film some practice sessions on the beaches.
Let's do it.
I do have an Airbnb now.
I saw
at the warehouse.
I saw that.
You should get Rock and Roll to pay for you to come stay there.
And then just shoot a whole vlog inside my entire night.
Then we all win.
As long as y'all don't prank me or something at night, because I get weird in the woods.
No, because then you'll give us a bad review and everybody on Airbnb will see it.
Strong point.
Yeah.
Very strong point.
Those reviews are important.
So y'all check out Dale's got a new Airbnb coming up. He's September 1st. We've got the new
I wasn't
show,
even trying to plug that.
I'll
but
plug
yes.
for you.
Yeah,
no, I
thank
got you. I got you, dog.
Yeah, September 1st. I'll plug that, the Netflix show.
Yes.
Yeah.
How to be a Cowboy.
How to be a Cowboy.
How to be a Cowboy, September 1st on Netflix. Shelley, what would you like to plug for us, my dear?
Shoot, I'm going to watch that. How to be a Cowboy, September
There you
1st
go.
on Netflix. I watch tons of Netflix when we're on the
Good.
road. That's going to be.
6 episodes.
Good little safety blanket. It's Netflix on the road.
About
would I
2.5
like to plug?
hours.
Well, I'd like to plug, like he said, how awesome Rock and Roll Denim is, and they're get jeans on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes,
Rockandrolldenim.com. That's
yeah,
it.
exactly.
That's
There
it.
you
That's
go.
where to find us. Rock and Roll Denim on Instagram. Dale Brisby on Instagram. Shelley, why don't you have an Instagram yet?
Because you know what you said about Excel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I just
Somebody
do-
want to teach me how?
I will personally teach you how. I've been trying to plug you
For
all
free?
year and tag. Yes, ma'am. That comes absolutely. I've been trying to tag you all year and plug you all year. I threw out a happy birthday, Shelley Morgan, on Instagram. I think 2 weeks ago.
August 4th.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And I
Yes.
was like, I can't tag her because she's
I
not on
know
Instagram.
Tracy had to send it to
I
me.
sent it to Tracy to send you. I was like, I want her to know that I said happy birthday.
Okay, I'm going to set me up an Instagram page. Is it hard?
No.
Okay, I have a Facebook page, and I'm terrible at that, too.
Well, Facebook owns Instagram.
Same
so
thing.
It's not going to be much different than that.
You can post on both at the same time. It's
The
great.
buttons are in a different spot on the screen, and that's about it.
Really?
Yep.
So it's pretty easy.
100%.
Well, I'll give you a crash course and show you how to do all that fun stuff.
Okay, and Instagram is like just talking back and forth like Facebook kind of, sort of?
It's really just posting pictures, and if you want to respond to people that comment on your pictures, you can.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll have
And
to
then
get
just
on
putting
that.
your own brand out there. That's all it is.
Next, you'll have a TikTok, and you'll be doing
Oh my gosh,
TikTok
I've heard-
dances.
Oh, my goodness.
So she'll do the TikTok dance with like Jimmy that we did at our last Dorsey shoot. So it's you and Jimmy doing a TikTok at the same time.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh. I've never done TikTok, but I hear it is the new big thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's coming. Well, thank you guys once again so much. Let's go put Shelley on a bull. What do you say?
Let's
Hell
do it.
yeah.
I want to ride
Definitely.
Frostbite.
On to the next one.
Frostbite.
On to the next one. Thank you guys.